Hello and welcome to this section of Mastering Excel. Here we're going to learn about Sparklines, and so what I'm going to do is delete this guy and we're going to go over to the data that we used to create our stacked bar graph from before. Now Sparklines are really just a way to create a little mini graph inside of a single cell. So it's basically graphing, creating different kinds of graphs, but it's used to create tiny little graphs that you can put inside of any of these cells. And, they could have their uses. I don't really use them all that much, but they do have their uses, and I want to show you how to use it so that you can decide for yourself if you need or want to use a sparkline. So in order to put a sparkline in, I'm going to highlight the empty cell underneath this Toyota sales data. All right. And then I'm going to go to Insert, and then I'm going to go over to the Sparklines group. Now there's three different kinds of sparklines you can create: a line graph, a column graph, or a win-loss. For now, let's go ahead and create a column like this. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and it's going to ask me, choose the data that you want. And so what I'm going to do is highlight this data here, and that's highlighted. That's the data I want, and I've got the empty cell still selected under there. Choose where you want the sparkline to be placed. Right now I already have B7 because that's where I clicked initially, so basically done. And I hit OK, and up pops a little tiny little bar chart right underneath my Toyota sales data. Now as I change the height of row 7, or maybe the width of column B, I can accentuate and make this little sparkline bigger or smaller, but notice it fits inside of cell B7 always, no matter what I'm doing here. And it's really a graphical representation of all the data above it. So I can see the 6050 is this bar, 5411 is there, 3000 is there, and so on. Tiny little sliver of a bar chart there because that's the very last entry right over there. It's just a graphical way. You can see the numbers, but if you're giving an executive summary to someone and you don't want to have a giant chart with one giant chart with, a million bar graphs on it, then I can have them zero in on one cell and I can show them what I'm looking at. Now, once you select the sparkline, you can see that there is a design tab there, much as we've had for the other guys, and we can select different types. We can select different colors. We can open this to expand, and we can make our sparkline, orange if we want, or whatever. Now let's go over here to the next guy and let's create a different sparkline. So we'll hit Insert. Instead of a column sparkline, we'll put a line. And again, it asks me the data range that I want. I'm going to highlight the data above. We're putting it in C7. That's where the chart's going to go. We'll hit OK. This is what the sparkline would look like down there. It looks like a line. So you can see 2500 is low, 6000, and then 10,000, and then 2040, and then 3254. So we have kind of these basically connected by a line there. It's just a different way to represent the same information. Again, we highlight it. We can go select a different color. If we want green, for instance, I can put that there. Notice that whenever you have this highlighted, you have different options to accentuate some of these points. I can click this and put a dot on the high point. Let me go ahead and make row 7 and column C much bigger so you can hear it, so you can see it. I can accentuate the first point with a dot, the low point, negative points. I can basically put these dots on this little sparkline, anywhere I want. Typically, you don't want a lot of that clutter. You just want a general representation of what is going on in there. Now, sparklines can be used for horizontal data as well. So, for instance, I can go in here and go Insert Sparkline. Let me go ahead and put a column like this. Select the data across. This is all correct. I'll hit OK. I've got a nice little bar graph there, and I can copy this sparkline down, and it will be smart enough to grab the data across there. And I can, change the height of these rows if I want to, and basically make this sparkline, look like this. And I can see by looking at Stephanie, I can look at the numbers, but I can also see that, hey, the middle bar, I can compare the middle bars pretty easily among people and see how the Honda sales are doing. Now, one more thing I'll show you. If you go to bar over here, I've got my data that has these sales, these people's annual salary and yearly sales. Notice I have some negative numbers here. So what I can do is, if I want to, I can insert, actually I don't even need to insert. I can create a sparkline here. And over here, instead of line or column, I'll choose win or loss. That's basically used if you have negative numbers. So I'll click this button. I'll select my data. and then I will go in here and click OK, and then I have win or loss. So the blue lines are positive, the red lines are negative. Of course, I've got lots of different choices to make those colors different. I can change the color of the sparkline, the marker color, and so on there. Sparklines are one of these things that are nice, but depending on your application, you may never use them, or you might use them all the time. So I encourage you to grab some data, create some sparklines. They function and behave very similar to the way the charts and graphs are that we have done before. You can also change the type of sparkline quickly after it's selected just by selecting it there in the ribbon menu. So I'm Jason with MathTutorDVD.com. Make sure you understand this, and then go forth and play with the sparklines. Make sure you understand them.